Going everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about LaMelo Ball, who had a 50-point game in their close loss to the Bucks today. And I wanted to break it all down, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We're on our way to 10K by the end of the year. I don't know why I was spacing there. All the support really goes such a long way with the YouTube algorithm and all that good stuff. Y'all are the best. As is LaMelo, who this first shot is a miss, but I wanted to talk about it because I've liked how Charles Lee gets LaMelo his shots in the offense. Like, this is the first play of the game, right? And they could just give LaMelo an ISO, but they're going to have LaMelo here set a back screen for Josh Green, and then Mensa's going to, not Mensa, Diabate is going to set one for Melo right there, which gets him going downhill, and he doesn't end up making the shot, which he's going to have a lot more chances to get back for that miss. But I like the way that the Hornets are incorporating LaMelo on the offensive end in terms of not always having him be superhero, but he is doing a lot of it, and he shoots a lot of threes. The Hornets are shooting the second most threes in the league, I think, or their three-point frequency is the second most of any team in the league behind, no shocker, the Boston Celtics, Charles Lee's old coaching mate, Joe Mazzulla. And this three-point prowess is not only LaMelo, but they're really good at getting threes out of these LaMelo passes, and more like decent action right here. We said, I think, like a veer, or this might be an away screen. I'm still trying to, I think this might be the away screen for LaMelo to drive here, come off of the handoff. Giannis sinks down. Andre Jackson is behind the play because of the pre-screen motion. Grant Williams gets the wide open three. So it is just LaMelo's tendency to chuck threes, which definitely is real, but the whole team is contributing to the three-point barrage. And Giannis spent a lot of time on LaMelo and did not do a particularly good job of checking him. And LaMelo is just such a unique player. His early pickups are so unique, where Giannis is trying to force LaMelo into Lillard's help, but Giannis gives LaMelo his top foot, which means Giannis is going to have to turn and open his hips instead of just having to slide them this way. And LaMelo burns him with a little scoop pass. Like, he picks the ball up from such weird angles, is maybe more reliant on his touch than almost any other player in the league in terms of the scoops. And there are some shots that I don't love in his arsenal, like this one leaning to the left that he can do. And Andre Jackson is a quite good defender, and LaMelo, again, had his number all day. Gets him on his back. I do wish LaMelo would maybe kick out to Grant Williams here for the open three. That's just a tough fadeaway jumper, but also some good defense by Brook Lopez dropping back and contesting. The Bucks generally like to force teams into shooting floaters, especially with Brook Lopez on the floor, but against LaMelo, who is one of the most efficient mid-range shooters and floater range shooters in the league right now, that's just not the greatest strategy. And like I said, I don't love these shots for LaMelo. With his limitations as a vertical athlete sometimes and with his strength, I get it, but look at LaMelo's burst. He is very explosive, gets downhill easily. I wish he would take one more dribble, because then he takes one more dribble. Bobby Portis steps up. Tijon Salon, my guy, slides in, and LaMelo can just pass it right over top. But, I mean, like, this little scoop layup, he can make those shots, but it's just a hard life to live. And part of that is, like, LaMelo is still not like the most efficient player in the world. Whew. He is very efficient given his insane usage rate. I think he's like just below league average true shooting on crazy scoring volume, but it is kind of because of those limitations. And oh my goodness, LaMelo, his handle is amazing. And part of this leaving his feet earlier, look at him split this trap right here. I really like that the Hornets do use a lot of guard screening. Have talked about that ad nauseum this year. One of the trends du jour in the NBA, forcing Damian Lillard to be the one to play drop defense right here, and or try to hedge out right there. Does not work. And when LaMelo leaves his feet, this also can confuse the defense, right? There's quite a few options, and because LaMelo's willingness to shoot bullshit like this, because LaMelo will shoot, but he's also a threat to pass down to Taj as he does, or he could kick to Salon in the corner. He has so many options here, and because of his just generational, preternatural, whatever, adjective you want to use, feel for the game, he just has this unnatural ability to process the floor. And again, another little floater in transition. He's so good in transition, just pushing an early offense before defenses are set. That's another huge weapon of his. Look at LaMelo setting a screen-ish and then floating back into a three. He is a legitimate, awesome off-ball shooter too, and his mechanics are way calmer on these shots. Like, we'll talk later about some of the how do I say, mechanical evolutions maybe, but I like this action right here, trying to get Jackson off of LaMelo. He's like fakes the back screen, but then Grant comes in and sets the screen, gets LaMelo some space, and even though that is very deep, you've got to cover LaMelo because he is one of the best shooters in the league. And look at them doubling him already, and LaMelo just kills it with bursts. Like, he is one of the fastest players in the league, and I think, especially for his size, this is a 6'7", 6'8" point guard, and that doesn't get enough kind of credit. Again, we see this Bobby Portis, who's not a very good defender, gives up his top foot right there. You can see it. Andre Jackson cuts off this way, so LaMelo has to go baseline, and oh my god, he burns Portis. Really good steal there by Grant Williams as well, and Bobby Portis ends up fouling him. But LaMelo's ability to get downhill, again, he does it against Giannis, getting all the way into the paint, drawing a foul. This is what happens I love when LaMelo gets closer to the basket before he shoots. Like, look how close he is, right outside of the restricted area, getting that over Brook Lopez, drawing the foul after getting clobbered. Like, his touch is just otherworldly. It really is. And he is so deadly as a playmaker in early offense, too, because LaMelo is an incredible driver, right? Taurean Prince is not going to be able to stay in front of him, so Brook Lopez has to step up to LaMelo, which leaves Miller wide open, sliding in behind for the lob. It's just great offense, and Miller and LaMelo are such an incredibly synergistic combination of players. Like, Miller's off-ball game and his shooting pair so perfectly with LaMelo, and we'll see a little bit more of that later. And oh my goodness, this is one of my favorite plays of the game. LaMelo just putting the whole Bucks team in a blender where they just run a little pitch to get LaMelo going. And then the Bucks like to ice, which means basically they'll have their players play with their hips facing the baseline to force players away from the middle, but that doesn't really work when you have Brook Lopez playing this high up, and he's just not quick enough at this stage of his career to beat LaMelo to the basket. And then you have Damian Lillard there helping, and LaMelo probably could have passed to Diabate here, but look at the fake, the handling. He's just unbelievably dynamic as an athlete too with the ball. Like, never the most vertically explosive guy, but in terms of his balance and his ability to bend, and this is another great example of his balance. Like, look at LaMelo basically like falling over right here. Like, most players would fall backwards or capitulate here, but LaMelo maintains his balance, his concentration, and just flicks that ball in. He really does have some of the craziest touch you've ever seen, and it's a joy, a true joy to watch. And yeah, I talked about the unorthodox mechanics. The floater three. I am so fascinated by this shot, like, to see if there's really any practical applications of this in terms of shooting with that forward momentum, but like, I don't know. And this is certainly a practical application of LaMelo being willing to shoot these shots. Like, this is him setting up for the floater three, like bringing his hand over here. Giannis at this point thinks LaMelo is going to put this up, but because of that, Giannis has to dart out to him, and LaMelo can just round him with all of this space. And he's going to scoop it over Brook Lopez, who is a bit late to react. And once again, we see LaMelo getting very deep into the paint there. Great pass here to Diabate, and eventually gets the ball back, cashes the wide open three. It's really nice when LaMelo can, not have to create all of this crazy stuff for himself. And part of that is because of how teams want to play him. The Bucks are sending two at him basically every time, which gives the Hornets a big numbers advantage. There's a 3v3 right here, and then you add Diabate as the fourth, and he can just kind of play in space, do his thing, makes a good decision. Grant Williams swings the ball. LaMelo hits a wide open three. It's great complimentary basketball by his teammates, but it's all created because LaMelo is a threat. And we see another one of these. Like, what is going on here? LaMelo's shooting form now is more like it was in high school. Like, this is the kind of shit he did at Chino Hills, where like his foot is like weirdly turned out instead of away, instead of like pointing towards the basket, like turns even more. You can see right there. I don't know. It's weird. It is very strange. And it's just not just him. Like, Trey does it. Halliburton does it. I've definitely seen other players do it. And again, we see Melo getting a clean look from three off of Brandon Miller. Really helpful to have another, like a guy, Miller's not like an isolation creator like LaMelo, but he's a damn good secondary creator. And Gary Trent is pinching in really hard to try to pinch on this drive. And LaMelo is a really smart off-ball spacer. He's going to sink down closer to the corner to give LaMelo to give Miller an easier passing outlet. He is a brilliant off-ball player and hasn't gotten to show it so much in his Hornets career because he's had no other real threats with the ball, but that's really changing. And oh my goodness, sometimes LaMelo is just going to hit 30, 35-foot step back threes or whatever, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. But again, that really does contribute to how teams have to play him. Like on a play like this, Grant is just going to run a little drag screen right here. And LaMelo, who AJ Green is up guarding Miller right here, and there's so much space in the paint that LaMelo is just capitalizing with the Bucks' really bad point of attack defense. But we can see the problems with him jumping too early, turns the ball over there. Like some of these decisions are, you kind of have to live with it, and LaMelo is a great foul jar, but he being a legit like movement shooter at times doesn't get enough credit, I think. Like the Hornets are just going to run a little zoom action on the sideline, which is just screen into handoff, but LaMelo is just going to shoot it immediately when he catches, and I think that is just another versatile value add. Good steal by LaMelo here. We're talking about his offense in this game, but I think he's going to miss this shot. Yeah, it got a little too cute there, and you can see the size of Brook Lopez, but here we see him do a lot better in transition on this next opportunity where LaMelo hesitates, right? Again, we see him looking up at the rim. The eyes up makes AJ Green hesitate for a second, and then LaMelo can blow by, use his strength, float that beautiful little shot in. The Hornets are going to make a little fake comeback here towards the end of this game, and LaMelo is definitely a big part of that, blowing right by Dame Lillard, and he does finish. Great deceleration too, like the long steps right here, 1, 2, finish over Brook Lopez. And Lillard, yeah, I mean, he has basically nobody except for even like kind of Andre Jackson and sometimes Giannis have a chance against LaMelo on the ball against this team, and more great action. I love when teams involve their two best players in screening actions, and this is what you want. Again, it forces Taurean Prince to play in a spot where he doesn't, and because there's two similar enough sized players, the Bucks are just going to want to switch, right? Where Prince is going to go for LaMelo, Trent is going to get Miller, but because of the way they're positioned, Miller has like the lane to the basket here. Trent is on his back, and he's going to slip into space, and of course LaMelo is going to find him, and that's a great finish in traffic by Miller. He's a really damn good player. Really fun compliment to LaMelo, as we've been saying, but LaMelo gonna split the defense, slow down. Love that deceleration once again. Kind of garbagey time type plays at this point, and why not? Why not pull up from literally wherever? And I think that might have been for 50, or maybe this last one was for 50. I don't know exactly which one. Yeah, this one was probably for 50, where he just, oh my God. Of course, LaMelo gets 50 on that ridiculous touch shot, but man, LaMelo has been unbelievable this year. The fact that he's upped his scoring to being one of the highest volume scorers in the league while also slightly increasing his efficiency. Still below league average, but definitely better for him, while still being one of the best passers in the league. Defense has been a disaster, but this whole Hornets team has been a disaster on defense this season. LaMelo's playing easily all-star level. I think you can make a case that he's playing towards an all-NBA level, definitely on the offensive side of the ball. Just like the kind of scoring explosions he can go on, aside with his like being a passer at times and on nights when he needs to, it's really great, and it makes him one of the best players in the league. And I really do hope we can see the Hornets get some more like really elite players with him, because I think Miller can develop into a really good player, but outside of him, there's no one else in the roster to me that has like real superstar, like all-star potential. So I just want to see, because I think he could be really good playing off of those kind of players. So anyways, let me know what you think, and LaMelo rocks.